Transcendental Transformation, the place where spirituality and transformation unite. Host Miss Raina imparts truth so that you can break through your limiting beliefs and evolve into a deeper consciousness. As you go about your day, remember, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. And now, let's start the show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Transcendental Transformation. I'm your host, Miss Raina, and today is Tuesday, November 16th, 2021. As always, we're coming live from the Sirius Star System studios right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I hope all is well with everybody. So, yeah, we had a little bit of technical issue, and it actually was only because of me, because I actually forgot to turn on this. See what happens when your help is off doing other things? You know, that's why we rely on help, right? We can't do everything ourselves. So I apologize if you jumped on the stream and it canceled right away. So this is the live stream you're on right now, and it is up and running. So, guys, we have a lot of information to go through. I'm going to try to get it through maybe with today. I don't know. It's probably going to be a two-part show. But before we get into the show, I want to let you guys know that we have the homeless food drive coming up for Thanksgiving. We are going to be taking donations, whether it's food, if you live in our area, if you want to donate food, or if you don't live in our area, or if you live in the area and you want to donate cash, you're more than welcome. Please go to Spirit Communities on Facebook and find our GoFundMe link, and it's in the About Me section. And please donate. Thanksgiving's coming up. I know many of you are strapped for cash. I know there's so many of you that, you know, have other things going on, but all it takes is $5, $10, and between a bunch of people that can feed a lot of people. So please, you know, be not only thankful for what you have, but be grateful to be able to give to somebody else, and we would really, really appreciate your help. So, all right, guys. As always, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, DLive, and all those other things. And the replays, yeah, you guys know the link. So if you guys have been listening long enough, so let's get on to tonight's show, because we are going to talk about the 7 governors or the 7 laws of the universe. And one of the things that we hear, especially if you're a spiritualist or anything, or even if you're not, you've probably heard of the Chakra System. And we have a very minimal and basic understanding of it. Most of us think that these are energy systems within the body, and we really don't know much more than that. I've been doing a lot of, over the years, I always ask people, well, what do you know about the chakra systems? What do you really, what do they do? And they say, well, they're balls of energy inside of us. And yeah, I guess that could be true. But what are they really? And people are like, well, you know, I open them up to channel in the energy, and we don't, and they kind of give me so many, and they distribute the energy, and you know, they're blocked. They get blocked if we have issues in our life or challenges in our life, and yeah, I guess that is true. Yes, that to some extent, but that is a very basic, minimal understanding of what it is. And tonight's show is not about the chakra systems. I mean, we are going to go through the chakras and everything, but it is really about how life is. And we are going to go more in depth about them because, yes, we have a very, like you said, I don't want to sound like a repeating rabbit, but we do have a very basic understanding. And we need to be able to expand our consciousness, expand our minds to new ideas, because as we're going through the jump right now, and as we're going through evolution and humanity's next step, we have to start thinking bigger. We have to start thinking wider. We have to start adapting ourselves to new ideas and new understandings of who we are and why we're here. And that's basically the reason why the jump is happening now. And for many of us, yes, it's a lot of chaos. People are getting trapped in the fears and lies of the society and the world and the illusions that we put up, so that therefore we can create problems. We can create these challenges in our lives, because then that teaches us other things. But we have to start seeing past the superficial skin. If all we did in medicine was say, well, you know, this is skin, skin and I don't know what's underneath there, but something feels hard, without, opening up a body and feeling, realizing that there's veins and tendons and muscles and ligaments and bones and cells and all that stuff. The deeper we go, that is what we're here to do on this show, is go deeper. And for many years, I have kind of kept things superficial, because I realized that while I did the show, that a lot of people, especially back in 2012, 2013, 14, we weren't quite there yet. But now that we're going through the jump, it's time for a lot of new information to come out and help us evolve as spiritual beings. Because no matter what we choose to believe, even if we choose to look at my show and say, this girl doesn't know what she's talking about, well, that's okay. That's okay. Eventually you will evolve to come to the same understandings that I have. This information is accessible to anybody. And that's the great thing about understanding who we are as beings, and being able to understand that we have this information all within us. But a lot of us, we don't want that information because we get caught up in the belief systems. I always say that sometimes belief systems are for people who don't want to evolve and people who don't want to challenge themselves to evolve. And that's okay, because in their evolution, we all have to be there. There was times in my evolution where absolutely I was stuck in my belief systems, I was stuck in my ways, and I was going to do it, and I wasn't going to change my ways, and I had to evolve as well. So this information comes to all of us, and the more open we are about things, the more we can understand who we are. And it's funny, because I was actually just talking to someone on Facebook the other day, and they were having a really tough time with their personal life, and some of the things that they believed weren't actually true. And I could tell by the way that they were perceiving things and the way that they were understanding things, that they were creating all these illusions to stagnate themselves. And stagnation is an illusion themselves, but it was creating a bunch of chaos. And they were like, well, how do I get out of this? And tonight you're going to learn not really how to get out of things, but you're going to have a more in-depth, a little bit about what's really going on in our lives, and why there are things that we experience through perception, through understanding, and all that stuff, through emotion, through cause and effect, that will help us understand what we're doing in our life. Because the chakra systems is more than just balls of energy running through it. It's a lot more complex. It has greater purpose. Yes, true, it is. They do handle energy and how things flow and everything like that, but and how things are distributed. But there's a lot more to it. I'm going to tell you as much as I can over the next 2 days, probably. Let's see how much we get through it. But at the same time, this information, if you learn to meditate, if you learn to understand yourself, if you learn to quiet your mind and really see more to the world than it really is, you're going to become a person that's going to be able to access this information. And then you're not going to look at me and say, hey, well, Miss Raina, she talks about some crazy ideas. I don't know if that's true. Or, oh, she's a spiritualist. I am not a spiritualist. I'm a person of consciousness, and that is what I teach, because that is what I've been shown, and that is what the information that I get. Again, I'm just passing on information, nothing more. And believe me, even at the start of this lifetime, I was raised a completely different way. I had a completely different thought process until I started talking and experiencing my spirit guides in person, and I started getting all this information throughout my childhood. Then all of a sudden it was a battle, because I had to do. So it's going to be the same thing for you. So some of these concepts you may understand, some of these concepts you may not. I'm going to try to keep it really light, but really that's what we have to do. So the chakra systems, or this, we call them the 7 governors, the 7 laws of the universe. And there are actually more. Before I get into the 7 laws, there are actually a lot more than just 7 chakras. There are 7 main systems in the body. Yes, there's one at our knee. There's one at our knees, one at our feet, one above our head, and those those 7 chakras, or those chakra systems, also, they split. There's divisions between positive and negative, and no, I don't mean good and bad as always. I know if you listen to that show, you kind of got it by now. But for you new people, whenever I say positive and negative, I don't mean, oh, there's a good side and a bad side, or a light side and a dark side. I mean positive and negative, and as in polarity. So a lot of times when you have the 7 that you're working with, those split off into 2, because those have a positive and a negative side in polarity, and you work closely with lessons and understandings with that. And then those ones split off into, and then those split off again. And so there's many different levels of the 7 governors of the universe, or 7 laws, whatever you want to call it. And you have to be able to understand that everything in here, and we're going to talk about polarity over the next couple of days, and why polarity is needed in the universe and in our experiences, in our perception, in order for us to gain perspective of who we are. Because we cannot experience things without polarity. I always tell people this: it's okay not to be perfect. In fact, the people who can actually admit and try not to be perfect, and allow things like polarity and duality to happen, where you're imperfect and you mess up and stuff, actually grow faster, actually grow more, if you're able to look at yourself and say, okay, I have something that happened to me. I have I can see things in different perspectives, and I can gather the information that's there, because this is what I'm looking at. And when we're able to gather that information, then all of a sudden we start to see the reasons why these lessons have come into our lives. And so these 7 laws, which are actually one law, but the 7 laws actually govern everything that we do and experience here. And it's not really hard and complex to understand when you think about it. Yes, that's why most people only understand the 7. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, there's the root chakra and the sacral chakra and the throat and all that. And we have a minimal understanding of okay, well, this one, if you're blocked in this, you'll have these type of symptoms. And yes, to a point, that's true. But we have to start thinking, expanding that side of us. We have to say, okay, well, there's got to be more to it, because life can't be that simple. If we're having this, there's got to be more complexity. It's almost like, again, our bodies. There's more complexity. If you look at the shallowness of it, well, you say there's skin to hold everything and to protect us, and there's bones to make sure that our arms and body isn't limp. It's just a puddle of blob. And that's the same thing that we have to understand. And we cannot forget about polarity. We cannot forget that there's always a positive and negative side of everything in order for us to gain and master. So in every experience that we have to master that. We have to learn to master who we are, what we're looking at, in order for us to grow. That's why when we think of people like the archetypes, or anybody like Buddha, Allah, Jesus, all these people that we pray to now, and we think that are so enlightened beings, or gods and goddesses, or whatever we do, we look at it and we think that, okay, well, these people are enlightened. Well, it's not that they're enlightened. It's the fact that they were able to recognize and master all 7 governors of the universe inside of us, and all these 7 laws, and they were able to see and work through these things in a complete order. And when they were able to understand that and realize that everything has polarity, everything is vibration, everything works through each other, and every body is connected, and they were able to see themselves in one another and come to that compassionate side and understanding, that's what we call enlightenment. And that's what we call mastering, because every one of us has to have these lives where we have to go through this. And as we talked about in the last show of the journey of 10,000 lives, we talked about why we have such little free will, because in order for us to learn how to master these, we have to go through certain challenges. We have to go through certain ideas. Knowing everything, when you think that you're going to become enlightened and you know more than everybody else, that's not enlightenment. Enlightenment really isn't even enlightenment that we think. If we think of that process, all it is coming to an understanding of self, learning that we are the creators of our universe, and we use that vibration, we use that expression and experience to transcend who we are. And when we come back and realize, out of all the things we are, we realize that I am then all of a sudden that's who we are, and we can see that I am enlightened. And so we look at these things and we look at these different realities, and we have everything, and we have all this stuff going on. And it's really hard to understand because we never take time to reflect. We never take time. And how could we? We're on our phones 24 hours a day. We're on Discord. We're on social medias, Facebook, YouTube, everything. We're always trying to be the next superstar. How do we take time to look and reflect? And now with the how the world's creating the fear of COVID and all this stuff, we don't take time for this. And this is why these realities are put into place. This is why these illusions, these walls, these structures are put into place, because they're meant to teach you how to work through them so that you can understand self. Remember that everything you're experiencing now, even this show, is a reflection of who you are. I posted today on Facebook one of my quotes, and we all kind of hear this, that your life is an expression of your current thoughts, which is true. Because how you think, and we're going to get into this is a huge part of the chakra systems and the 7 governors of the universe, is understanding who we are through that. And so everything that you are is nothing more than a reflection of your current state of mind. And that's the reason why you are the way you are. And so if you're constantly having people that are doing wrong to you, or in your mind doing wrong, there's no such thing as doing wrong. Well, we'll get into that a little bit later, but that's a reflection of how your processes, how you resonate, how your vibration and your mental thought process is going. And so this is something that we have to take a look at. This is not spiritual mumbo jumbo, people. This is how the universe works. And quantum physics is now proving that. They're saying, well, hey, if I look at a particle and this happens and I think of this and this happens, it changes the way it reacts. It changes the way the vibration, the waves react to everything. And so eventually what you guys think is spiritual or in just spirit, or some people might say, oh, she's a spiritualist and all that. No, it's not. This is how the universe works. This is how us as souls, our body works. We work through vibration. We work through perception. We work through understanding, through our mental aspects. And when our reality doesn't work, when our reality to us doesn't reflect what we want, it's because we're creating that. We're not meant to be perfect. We're not meant to, to experience, as we say, heaven on earth here until we get to a certain point, because we're meant to be able to learn and teach ourselves and master each one of these laws, which is technically one. And so, because again, everything is one. And so when we look at that and we become aware of the connection of who we are, that everything is in unity, we become masters of our creation. We become master creators of our own life, what we want to do and how we want to create it. Our 7th dimension, which is what we call heaven, which most people think that's where we're going to go when we die or we cross over, whatever term you want to use. Yes, you might go there for a short bit, but then you're going to go to a different dimension. You're going to go and work on different things, because in the 7th dimension, what we call heaven is when we become masters of our creators, when we can be so childlike, when we can be so loose, so free, so caring, we can just, dream and create of things we want and just be that. That's when we reach the 7th dimension. But until then, we're stuck here, or as you guys would say, we're stuck here, and we're not, because this is not something we need to escape. This is not a reality we need to escape. The worst thing we can do is chase the ideas that other people have taught us. Most people are not conscious enough to understand what is going on, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It is the fact. We are all at that point at one time. We take ideas or we read them in a book, and because we can't perceive or conceptualize the actual idea of what the information is, we take it and we manipulate that energy into what we can understand, and we run with it. And so it's not that we can't understand it. It's that we don't take time enough to understand who we are to get the information that is. Even tonight's show, there's going to be a lot of people that take this show and perceive it how they only can perceive it because they haven't understood themselves enough to grasp certain concepts that we're going to talk about tonight. Does that make us bad people? Absolutely not. At least we're trying. But the fact of the matter is this is how it's going to be until we start to look at self. We can't chase these books. We can't chase these ideas. I think it's great that there's authors out there that are trying to do things, but at the same time, if we don't take time to understand these ideas, just because someone says something long enough does not mean that it's true. And that's but we accept it as truth. If we hear something long enough or enough, we accept it as truth, and that's not always the case. So there's no perfection. The worst thing we can do is there's not perfection in knowing everything. Being positive all the time. We're big into, hey, create a positive environment, which means happy and this. And we don't want to face our sadness or our grief and negativity. That is all false. We have to be able to see positive and negative in polarity, the opposite ends of the spectrum, and all the perceptions in between in order for us to grow. Mastering each system takes many lives. It takes many of us to be able to understand what we're going through because, again, we have to see so many different perceptions in order for us to say, hey, I get it now. And that's the reason why you're going through exactly what you're going through. You are meant to go through what you're going through right now. But the fact of the matter is we don't get to understand that because our minds are wiped clean at the start of our birth here at this life. So just remember that everything that we're experiencing is some type of an illusion or structure put in place by our own writings and the laws of the universe, the governors of the universe, in order for us to read and see who we are in different perceptions. This is going to help us people understand this stuff, and this is going to help us keeping learning what we need to learn. We'll be right back after these messages from the life of Raina. Oops.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody. If you're just joining us, we are doing an introduction to the 7 governors of the universe, and we are talking a little bit about, or we're going to start talking a little bit about the chakra systems. But yes, it is important for us people to start understanding that we have to start learning about who we are in reflection, in perception of both positive and negative aspects of each other. And again, I'm not talking about the happy-go-lucky, side versus the bad, negative side. I'm talking about positive and negative in polarity. And the reason why I stress that so much is because I really want you guys to understand. Everywhere I go, all I hear is, oh, let's be positive, let's be this, and it's always, let's not be negative, because we don't understand what it is we are talking about. And that's why I want to clarify all the time, especially for you new listeners, what we are talking about when we come to positive and negative, because it's so very important for you not to run with ideas that are false, okay? So this will help us learn to develop a sense of awareness. It'll learn to teach us the human experience of why we're really here. Because isn't that the age-old question, is why are we here? And the fact of the matter is we are here to be master creators. We are here to learn to be our own universes. We are here to experience the consciousness of self and all of its possibilities and answer the one question, who am I? And the answer is I am. And it's not until we truly come to that understanding is when we no longer need to be here, because we understand the reflection of who we are in ourselves. So this is something that is so important to us, for we understand. When we're looking at the chakra systems in relation to the 7 laws, and that we have to learn, okay, well, we have to learn, what do we have to learn to master? We all know that the chakra systems are related to certain things. We have to learn to master emotions. We have to learn to master perceptions. Most of us are not masters at all of emotion. Most of us are very emotional people. We are full of anger. We're full of judgment. We're full of all these different things. And because of that, we do shady stuff, or we manipulate things. We try to get things. We worship things like sports and championships and money instead of love and compassion and understanding, because we don't understand who we are in that aspect. And because of that, we don't understand what it is we're doing. And that experience creates what we have to learn to master. And so you can always tell by someone right away who's actually working on. There's a lot of people that are going to say that they're masters or gurus of things. There's a lot of people on YouTube that are going to try to come across as they know things. But when you look at the things they say and understand it, they're only understanding what they can perceive at that special moment. And this is part of the mastery system. How do we learn to master our emotions? How do we learn to master our perceptions? How do we learn to master our experiences in the third dimension? How do we learn to do this? And that is by experience. We have to experience these 7 governors in order for us to experience who we are. It's important for that purpose, because we learn through each challenges. As we learn to go and we realize through each chakra and the 7 laws, as we learn to understand these things, we learn to break it down and be able to see what it is we need to see. So before we get started with that, a lot of us, we have to learn, the biggest thing that we have to understand is that we're all here to learn lessons. If you're here to learn lessons. You're here to be able to learn whatever it is you need to learn. You have to be able to understand what it is you to learn and work through the processes that we're here to learn. So when we get later in the systems, it's about taking responsibility. It's about taking understanding of who we are. It's about accepting and acknowledging who we are. The biggest thing that we have troubles with in our lives is taking responsibility for who we are and the things that we're creating, and understand and giving in to our emotions, and blaming other people for everything that happens. Because it's easy, right? It's human nature to say, oh, well, this person did something to me, and because I'm a great person, I'm a wonderful person, I'm good, and they're bad because they're mean and nasty. They did this to me, and point the finger. They did. And when we become evolved beings, we realize, no, I did this because I'm resonating at a low vibration. I'm resonating at a low frequency, and because of that, I am attracting those people that I'm resonating in. So whatever is going on in your life is a reflection of how the energy that you vibrate at and what it is you are thinking at that time. And it could be a lifetime of this, it could, but that is your current state of mind. That is the perception of who you are at this very moment. This is who I am. This is what I believe about myself. And because I believe this is what I'm going to create. And so you will all be able to relate to all these things that I'm going to talk about, because you've all had these experiences, and because you choose to point the finger and not look at self. If you're a reflector and you understand that everything that you're attracting, everything that you're going through is a creation of your own mind, then what will happen is hopefully you'll say, hey, I'm tired of creating a mess. So the great thing about a mess is we can always clean it up and we can always change it. So this is why I'm doing the show today about this, because I want to make sure that you guys understand that this is something that we can understand and we can get through. So let's start off with the first of the 7 laws, or the first chakra, which is the crown, right? The crown is all about mentalism. We call that the mental aspect, or mentalism. This is the first governor or law, okay? And this is responsible for all of self-creation. So what this says here, the crown chakra says, is I am about mentalism. So what I live is what I believe. What I experience is what I think. And it's true, because everything we think, as I was just saying, everything we believe about ourselves is what we believe, what we live. If you listen to my social media, if you've heard me before, you say, well, if I'm an angry person, I find angry people. If I'm a victim in life, I find injustice. If I'm miserable in life, well, I find misery in life. So what I believe, what I live is what I believe, or what I believe is what I live. And this is the first step. So the moment you start to believe something, the moment you start to think something, is the moment when you start to create. Because even though it doesn't matter what part of evolution you're from or where you're at, you are still a creator. And so the moment you start to think this way, the moment you start to say, well, I know it's not going to work out. I know, because it never works out. Well, that's because you're creating that. You are creating that from here, because we are the masters creators. You are experiencing everything that you are thinking instantly. One of the biggest things that people ask me is, when we're over on the other side, they're like, oh, well, what can I do? Where can I go? Can I create things? Well, you can create anything that you want just by thought. If I'm on the other side and my mom and dad are on the other side and I want to go visit them, I don't even have to do anything other than thought, and it happens that instantly. But we're all one anyways, so it doesn't matter. That connection, that thing is there all the time. So it's not like we have to go see people to understand the experience, because that emotional thing. But here in the third dimension, we have to start understanding that everything you think is what you are experiencing, is what you leave. So you must become, to experience everything, to experience what you want, you have to become it. So instead of saying, I want all the time, I want this and I want this, and one day I'm going to have this, you have to be it. We hear all the time about The Secret and the law of attraction. That was very popular in the United States probably about 10, 15 years ago, something. Oh, The Secret came on, the law of attraction. And all of a sudden we saw all these people about master laws of attraction. And all we did was attract monetary things. Oh, have a boat, have a car, have a house, have this. What about have self-worth, have self-confidence, have self-love, have compassion, learn to understand each other, learn to gather this information on your own, because we are young and we don't understand, and all we care about is monetary things, especially here in this country. The law of attraction is not meant to, or mentalism creation is not meant to create money and fame and glory and all that stuff. That is people that do not understand. And so they create those imbalances. They create those insecurities. And that's what most people chase. Why do we chase championships? Why do we worship sports? Why do we do that? Because we create the idea that we are without, and people like athletes and movie stars and politicians and famous people have it all. And I want it because I don't have that. I want to be like that. So we idolize that. And that creation creates self-doubt, creates insecurities, creates all these things. So you have to learn to become what you want, not what I don't have, and not what I want. So if it's something that you want, then be it. Be that idea. Like I am that idea. From in my life, I am the idea that I want to be. It's not the idea that I'm gonna be in the future. I am that idea now. And that is the difference between people who learn to understand that they are creators, and by every thought that runs in their brain, that runs across, is creating their reality. I know that lately that there's been some issue. I noticed that with the moon and everything coming around, it's been the eclipse and everything. It's been pulling at people. And I know that people have been on edge, and it's been triggering insecurities and everything, because in their mind, those energies do that. Remember, the flow of the universe and the flow of what they all have rhythms. They all have ways that they have to go about. And those waves have to go in balance. The waves of the universe, the rhythms of the universe are in balance. Who we are is in balance. We understand both positive and negative aspects, and we use that to create a harmonious wave. But the human experience creates something differently. So we always talk about the Akashic records and accessing this and all this stuff. Well, sadly, many of us who claim to access the Akashic records don't. And the reason why they don't is because they don't know how to raise their vibration. If you want to be able to access the Akashic records, then you have to raise your vibration to be able to reach it. If you're in things like, that's not just about opening the crown chakra and saying, oh, let's let light in, let's let energy in, and all of a sudden, poof, I've accessed the Akashic records. It doesn't work like that. You have to be able to raise your vibration to access that, and in that access, then all of a sudden you are able to gain that material. A lot of people try to access things that we don't, different dimensions, understanding the life's complexities. If you want to understand these things and you want to test out, say, hey, is Miss Raina really crazy here? Is she coming up with all these cuckoo ideas, or is she being truthful? Then you have to raise your vibration to love and compassion and a higher vibration and become more rhythmic in order to understand these. You have to learn that everything is in a form of geometric shapes, the octahedron being one of the most basic foundations of understanding the 7 levels, or the 7 governors, and how to create. How do I create? If I'm going to be a master creator, and it all starts with mentalism, it all starts with the crown chakra, then how do I create my life that I want? Because all I know is without. And isn't that one of the biggest questions we have, right? How do I create this world? How am I creating a life since I've been so long being told that I'm without, that I have to do all these things? It's tough, but if you look at it and you take time and you say, okay, let's stop, let's slow things down, let's shut down social media, let's shut down all this stuff, let's shut down our phones for a while and start taking time to understand who we are and start catching our thought processes. Because the true part of creation is not the fact that you want to create things. In order to do that, you have to be aware of what it is you're creating. Most people are not aware of their daily thought process. They're not aware that what they're thinking and believing has been taught by a society that doesn't understand the information and is misunderstood or just flat out false. Because people, let's be honest with each other. People lie, right? People lie all the time to create themselves to be something that they're not. Right? How many times do you hear fake it till you make it, right? I hear that so many times. Oh, fake it till you make it. And what do? They take the idea and they think, oh, well, I'm just going to lie and make myself be like this rich, successful person when I'm really not. That's not fake it till you make it. And they're creating a false sense of lie, and they're creating an illusion that's eventually going to fall apart on them. Why? Because everything has cause and effect. And we're going to get into that a little bit later, probably tomorrow. I'm not going to get through a lot of this because we're only on the first one. We got 7 ones to go. But everything, the moment you create something, it has a cause and effect, and it's going to chain down from here to the third eye, to the throat, down to rhythm, down to the solar plexus. And everything you create, everything you do in the world has a cause and effect. There is nothing that will not come back some way, shape, or form. And that's not a punishment. That's not like you think karma is or anything. That's not anything like that. What it just means is, hey, for every positive or negative side, I got to have a reaction to that. So whatever it is we create, if it's created on lies and falsehoods and all these things, then that effect is going to create some type of outcome so that it teaches us, this is what I created and it wasn't strong. And because of the foundation wasn't strong, it crumbled on top of us. And it teaches us to grow. So when we understand that, it's not just, again, it's not to let light in. It's not to charge the chakras. Yes, you can do those meditations. I don't know how many meditations I've done. And it's always like, okay, open up your crown chakra, let light in, see the ball spinning. And that, yes, that is fine. That I'm, if you want to do that, that's great to get the energy in. But remember, people, things aren't up here. It's around us and through us. Everything is here. And that, so everybody thinks up because we're taught that, oh, the heavens are above. And for the last 2,500 years, we've been told, oh, heaven's up there, up above, the gods are above, because we used to see beings that came in spaceships from above coming down. And so we thought, oh, that's where the heavens, that's where we go. But it's not there. So it's around us. I can channel energy through my heart, through my hands, through anything. I can gather energy around and pull it. So don't be just, oh, I need to pull energy in. I need to create that. In order for me to access, I got to go up, because it's not there. Most of what I do and most of what people do is within, reflection within, understanding creation within, and translating it through correspondence and everything. So so if you really want to access this, the first thing I suggest is understand mentalism. Start becoming aware of who you are, and start becoming aware of the things that you're looking at, and the things that you're experiencing, and the things that you're thinking. All right, everybody, we'll be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody, we are back for the third and final part of tonight's show, and we are talking about the 7 governors of the universe. So the last thing I want to do to wrap up the mentalism part, the crown chakra, is for us to understand that the 6th dimension and the 3rd dimension are worked closely in together. The 6th dimension creates the 3rd dimension. Anything we want to create in here in the 3rd dimension is all done by mentalism, and that is reflective of the 6th dimension. And so when we understand that, it's hard, because one of the things that we've been taught in our society, especially Western society here in America, is things like aliens, things like dimensions, things like the Matrix. It's all hocus pocus, magic. We've all been shunned. All those things have been shunned by our society, and unfortunately, those things are needed for us to understand who we are. We had a huge connection before. And these things were shunned. We had a great connection with the universe, with the world, who we are, and we understood the way things are. Now everything is misunderstood. We have been told this is one way, and there's only one way. And when someone talks about aliens or universes, it's conspiracy theory, or it should be shunned, and we judge that. But and that stops us from growing without us understanding. Because hey, have you ever, if you're going to judge that stuff, do you know for a fact those things aren't true? No. You're just told by society that one thing is right and everything else is wrong. And if you don't believe this and that, it's quackery or it's that. We have to learn to evolve to see things more, because there's a whole grand universe out there. And it would be silly, it would be ridiculous to think that we are the only beings in this whole wide, the universe is so big. So big that our galaxy looks like a microscopic speck on top of a microscopic speck. So in order to think that we are the only beings out there is just, and to think that where we come from, we don't know. A lot of us, we don't know. And so when we start accessing who we are, we start to realize that there's different dimensions, there's different things, there's different beings, there's different forms of consciousness, there's different ways of accessing growth and consciousness so that we can learn to understand. The mentalism aspect access, who am I? What can I be? In order for us to understand our reflection of who we are, who am I? What can I be? I am. That in itself is accessing creation. That in itself is accessing new ideas, new concepts, and new structures. Those type of ideas create a self-realization. In order for us to grow as beings, in order for us to grow in consciousness, we have to have self-realization of who we are. And that's really about what I am is. Why do you think I labeled my business I Am Evolution? Because it is about self-actualization, self-realization that we in ourselves are creators. We in ourselves are in control of everything. And that is how I got out of depression. That is how I overcame my DID, my bipolar, everything that I was diagnosed with, my anxiety, my PTSD, everything that crippled me for so many years, all taught me that I was the creator of my universe and how to become self-actualized so that I can overcome it. We're not slaves to these things. That's what's great about it. We are not slaves to being you don't have to be in depression your whole life. You don't have to be in fear and anger your whole life. You choose to be in fear and anger your whole life because you are afraid to challenge the status quo and see there is more to life than what you've been taught to learn. And because we don't understand the concept of life and death and transition and going back to the other side or crossing over, we fear it. We think that this is the place to be. Well, yes, in a way it is, but you have no clue what else is out there. Until you pass on, go back over, then you realize who we are and you say, oh, I got to go back and do it again because I didn't understand it. I didn't learn what I needed to learn. I didn't try to become self-actualized. I didn't try to ask myself, who am I, and understand that creation. So let's drop down to the third eye. The third eye is mostly what do we think of it when we think of third eye, right? We think of the pineal gland, we think of psychic powers, we think of let's meditate, we got to access this is where all that comes from. We got to access clairvoyancy. It's all spiritual sight. Yes, it is about sight. It is about perception. It is about experiencing who we think we are. But in reality, this relates to correspondence. So correspondence is how we perceive life. These eyes, these nose, these ears, the taste, the touch is how we perceive life. I'm touching this mouse pad. I'm picking up this phone. I'm smelling things. I'm looking at things and I'm perceiving life. All this is giving me the information that I need to experience what is going on. And right now you're using the correspondence of the ears to hear new information so that you can evolve. And hopefully you're open enough to perceive it, to allow it to digest so that you can learn to perceive life in a different way, because that is what it's is. It's also how we relate ourselves to not only ourselves, but to the world around us. So how do you correspond yourself? How do you relate yourself to everybody else? When you go into a group, do you see yourself as someone who's quiet, who's shy, who's insecure, and when you see someone who's really outgoing or successful, do you change the way? Or do you see yourself as someone who needs to be the center of attention? How do you perceive your life as experience? How do you relate yourself to your own experience of life? Our outside is within. As I said before, what we are experiencing outside is what we're experiencing inside. So if we're experiencing pain and suffering, it's because it's how we perceive ourselves to be on the outside. And that's how people see us. One of the biggest things, and I'll let you in on a little trick, the reason why I can see people for who they are is because I understand the correspondence. I see how people project themselves. It's not that you are actually that way. It's your own correspondence correspondence, it's your own reality of how you perceive life and yourself in correspondence to it, is how you project who you are. So if you project yourself as an insecure person, if you see yourself, then that's how you're projecting, and that's how you're corresponding. That's how you're perceiving the outside of the world, how you're experiencing yourself with that. You are a projection of your life. You are of how you feel, and that shows you who you really are. That shows us what we're here to work on. It shows you my projection of how I see myself and how I experience shows me who I really am. It's a constant reflection. So if I'm going out and all of a sudden I start seeing and all of a sudden I start getting people that are coming at me, I have to take a step back and say, okay, let's go up here to mentalism and see what my thought process is. Is my thought process changed? Am I creating something? And am I corresponding something to that? Am I projecting my sight, my sound, my how I'm perceiving who I am through my mentalism to create all this mess? That's why things like COVID didn't bother me. It wasn't the fact that I'm all around it, supposedly. Do I see it? No. Do I hear about it? Absolutely. Am I in fear of it? No, absolutely not. Why? Because I don't see myself as someone who is fearful of things that I am educated with. And same with death. Do I want to transition right now? Absolutely not. I love life. I love being here. I love experiencing myself through you guys and you guys through me. I love everything about life. There's a lot of beauty in life. But when that day comes, am I going to fear it? Absolutely not. Why? Because I understand that perception of myself is just a transition, and this is nothing more than a creation that I created. And isn't that the great thing about life? Is understanding that the reason why what we call death happens is because it frees us from our creation. It frees us from this. Because imagine if you were you from now until eternity came. You would never experience anything different. But if you die and you come back as a girl or a boy next time, and you come back as this and that, and a different race and a different sexuality, and you experience pain and happiness and joys, and you experience being rich and famous, and you experience being poor and caring and mean, and you have all these experiences. Wow. You have a real great perception of all the possibilities you can be. And that is what this is about, is experiencing everything outside within and being able to do that. So remember, the mentalism thinks and creates it. The idea comes from correspondence. How do I perceive it to be? How can I perceive this to be in my own life? So if I want to create something, okay, I have an idea. Now, what is it that I want it to be? What is it? It's if you're an artist or anything, anybody that creates, a musician, you have to think of the song. You have to think of what you want to paint, and then once you say, well, I want to paint this, or I want to have a song about love or rock or drugs or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not an artist, but in that aspect, I'm an artist in a different way. But if I want to create a song, if I want to create a painting, if I sew or knit or whatever, if I want to create something, I have to create it by thinking of an idea and then formulating it into what I really want to perceive it to be. What is my beauty? What is my expression? Many of us create an idea that I'm insecure, that I'm not worth it, that I don't like my body, that I don't do this. And so everyone around us feels that way about us. And that's why we judge each other based on look, by popularity, by how talented, how athletic you are. And that's the reason why we chase those things, because we don't understand that we can change it by just changing our perception of who we are and our idea of how we do it. Remember, ideas are expression of who we are. We are here to create and express. You are living that idea. You are living that creation right now. You are a masterful creation of an expression that you created on the other side. I know we often give this idea up to a god or a goddess or a universe, that a universe or a god created us, but no, it is not. And when you go back home and back over to the other side, you will see that you created your life and every challenge that was in it, and that you had the strength and the know-how to how to create. But because we didn't take ourselves to understand the 7 laws, and we're working ourselves through them in reflection to understand that we just gave into it, and we said, oh, I'm helpless. This is the way I was created. This is what God did to me, and I just got to learn to accept it. But we can change it. I could have sat there and accepted, well, I have DID, I have bipolar, I'm depressed all the time, I have anxiety, I can't go out anywhere, I'm claustrophobic. But no, I challenged myself. I said, no, I'm a creator. I went up in an airplane, in a small rickety airplane, jumped out at 18,000 feet. I did that several times. I challenged myself to go out in clubs, and I changed my perception because I chose not to be the victim to that idea, because I realized that. So people hold on to things that they can't understand because they think it gives them a sense, but really it's creating so many different ways to stay in this illusion. All right, guys, I think I'm going to stop there. I know that I didn't even get through 2 of them, really. I got a little bit more on the 7th one, but we have, we have so many. Next week, we're going to do, we're just going to go through the rest of them, and I'm going to try to get them through as much as possible, but there's just so much information. I mean, really, we're just touching we're just scratching the surface of it. So if there's stuff that you have questions on, you want to know more when part 2 is done next week, please email us at transcendentaltransformations@gmail.com. Also, you can hit me up on my Facebook at facebook.com/transcendental transformation. As always, sign and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Transcendental Transformation. You can always contact us as well, or if you want to listen to any of the old podcasts or sign up for our newsletter, join us on soulandspiritguide.com. So as I said, sign up to the newsletter and receive special hidden shows, VIP access, and to the website and special guest offers. And as always, please, people, if you've enjoyed this show and you think that other people are going to find it helpful or help them in any way, please share the show. The only way we're going to grow is through you guys and by helping. And honestly, I would really love you for that. But always remember, guys, to believe in yourself, and it's not our abilities or our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.